Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Evil Dungeon Master Universe podcast. I am your host, Evil Dungeon Master Vince. Hopefully, you're having a great day today. It is Tuesday as I'm recording this early in the morning, and today we're going to have an interesting topic. But first, thank you for downloading and listening to the podcast, as well as subscribing to the podcast, liking the videos, and following along. I've noticed an uptick of of downloads recently to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So I appreciate those people that are doing that and listening to the show. A lot of back from DM Will on the show. Everybody enjoys hearing his voice again. So we'll see what we can do about getting Will back for another episode or two. But first, head to theevildm.com, my website, and you can contact me there for questions. Today's topic, decided to take a break from questions today, and I will get to more questions as the podcast goes along throughout the week. But something that came across my mind as I was doing some solo role playing and playing my character in a fantasy game I was playing. I had run across a druid and I needed some healing. So I was figuring, how am I going to do this? Because it was a low level druid that I had rolled up as a random NPC. And I'm like, well, there is a way that they can do this. And I was looking through the spells and I remembered Goodberry, which is the second level druid spell that a druid can cast on berries to give you some hit points back in nourishment. So I started digging into the spell a little bit, which threw me off on a tangent to the left, the right. Unearthed Arcana, page 42 on the bottom, going into page 43 on the right. When a druid casts Goodberry spell upon a handful of freshly picked berries, from 2 to 8 of them will become magical. The druid casting the spell, as well as any other druid of third level or higher, will be able to immediately discern which berries are affected. A detect magic spell will also discover this as well. Berries with the aroma with either enable berries with the magical spell cast upon them will enable a hungry creature of approximately man size to eat one and be well nourished as if it was eaten a full normal meal. Or else the berry will cure 1 point of physical damage due to wounds or other similar causes, subject to a maximum of 8 points of such curing in a 24-hour period. Now, you also do the reverse of the spell, which causes bad berry. Causes rotten berries to appear wholesome, but each one delivers 1 point of poison damage, no saving throw if ingested. The material component of this spell is a mistletoe passed over a freshly picked edible berries to be in spells, such as blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, currants, gooseberries, etc. Interesting that you can do it over you can do it over berries and the handful that you picked, and you can make them good or bad, and you can discern which one, but they still look like decent looking berries that you can eat. Now the question comes to mind is, if you're eating one, you can continue eating them until you get 8 points back, and you would feel nourished because it says "and or." Now I'm thinking if you're damaged or hit and bleeding out or something, and you take these berries and you eat them, you get 8 points back total in a 24-hour period, but you wouldn't be nourished, right? According to, because it says "and or." Let's take a peek at going forward, because Goodberry does go forward, and it doesn't really change much from first to second edition. Instead, it says casting Goodberries upon a handful of fresh picked berries makes 2d4 of them magical, which is pretty much the same thing. It just gives you the ability to roll 2d4. Man size, it says it's pretty much the same thing. So it does change slightly when we get into third edition. It says instead of actually having the berries or picking the berries, at this time of third edition, you would actually appear. It becomes a first level spell in third edition. And up to 10 berries appear in your hand or infused with the magic for duration. A creature can use its action to eat one berry. Eating one berry restores 1 hit point, and the berry provides enough nourishment to sustain the creature for 1 day. The berry loses potency if it has not been consumed within 24 hours of casting the spell. One thing I did forget to make note of with AD&D 1E and 2E, the berries will last after casting on 1 day plus 1 day per level. So you can actually have them in a container held in like a bag or something, and as long as you don't squish them, up to like 5, 6, 7 days before you even use them, and they still be good. Other editions say they, starting in third edition, they say no. If you don't do it within 24 hours, the spell's done. So, but starting in third edition, it restores hit points and provides enough nourishment to sustain a creature for 1 day. Now, can you eat more than one berry? It doesn't really say that, and I know that did issue this all over the internet, and I looked up around people asking that question over and over again. Can it actually eat more than one per day? I just did a little bit more poking around in Pathfinder First Edition. Page 291 is a Druid level 1 spell, and it pretty much is untouched. Is from third edition as far as things are concerned. 2d4 fresh. Oh, in this case, it goes back to freshly picked berries. So instead of it actually appearing in your hand, it just becomes on actual berries that you pick again. So we got that. If we poke into 5th edition, it goes back to appearing in your hand. Up to 10 berries appear in your hand or infused with magical duration. Creature can use this action to eat one berry. Each berry restores 1 point, and the berry provides enough nourishment to sustain the creature for 1 day. The berry loses potency if it has not been consumed for 24 hours casting spell. Now, it was asked of the 5e designer, Jeremy Crawford, who was one of the designers, lead designer of Wizards of the Coast at the time. I don't know if he still is or not. And I don't really follow 5e, but he did ask, could you have more than one, and would the effects of the berry actually, can you have more than one in a 24-hour period? And he said, overall, a very cryptic yes. So you could use it as many times as you want, and it is a pretty decent spell if you think about it for a druid. Me personally, I would probably go back to the 1E, 2E ability to have the berry last a few days depending on the level after you cast it. I think that's a little bit more fair for a druid. I mean, I guess they didn't want the druid to be exactly like a cleric with the ability to heal, so they wanted to give them kind of like a backdoor way to heal people, and in a minor way. And this is one of the ways that they did it. So I think this is an interesting way to handle healing for druids, and I like the fact that you can keep them in like a box or something that doesn't squish them, and allow them to be kept in your pouch for a few days and be like, "Here you go, son. Let me heal you," and something like that. And it's a good way to get around the whole spell thing for druids. Give them the ability to heal. I don't think I've ever seen anybody use Goodberry when I'm playing any D&D at all. I think it's often forgotten, so I'm not sure what to say here about the people who forgot about it. But I remembered the spell, and when as soon as I opened up the book and I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, Goodberry. So I did use it in my solo campaign. I helped my character a little bit, gave him some nourishment, and gave him the ability to move forward uh, and heal himself a little bit, just enough. But the one thing that still lingers in my mind is the nourishment part. Now, in 1E, it says for a full meal for a man sized person. Later editions, it says a sustained nourishment for a day. So, are you gorging yourself or overgorging yourself if you're eating more than one? Do you feel like super full, or you want to barf if you eat more than one, or something like that? Just some questions that came to my mind about eating. Because if you're eating enough to sustain a meal, you're usually going to either be satisfied or satiated or full, depending on how much you want to eat or not. And say you're eating 2 berries, does that mean you're over full? If you eat 3 berries, that mean you're going to be at the point of puking? Now, if you're in later editions and it's enough nourishment for 1 day, are you going to vomit? I know it's magic, it's some overthinking it, but it was just a little couple thoughts that I had across my mind. Tell me what you think. Hit me up on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Evil Dungeon Master. my YouTube channel / the Evil DM, where this video will be appearing. You can comment below what you think about Goodberry, and hopefully you've used it. And if you haven't used it, try using it in your campaign and tell me what you think. Some people think it's cheating because you can do sustained. I'm looking at some things online that people were saying Goodberry is cheating for exploration based campaigns. Some people think it's a good trade-off. I want to know what you think. Comment below, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you're on a podcast channel, don't forget to head over and give me a 5-star review. Everything you do, I appreciate. With that said, I'm going to head out, keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, and God bless everybody.